Donald Trump must surely be a racist. New York City Mayor Eric Adams smells a rat, and a Minnesota Democrat who never had any use for the cops is suddenly singing a different tune. Stay tuned, everybody.
For the best meat you have ever eaten, check out samsbutchershop.com. Go and shop around. When you go to checkout, enter the promo code Triple T for a 5% discount. Check it out.
Hello, everybody. Happy Sunday. Trailer Trash Tim here with you. I'm glad you're here. Thank you so much for being here. If you would go ahead and hit the like button down below, give me a thumbs up on the video. If you have not yet subscribed to the channel, this would be a great time for you to do so. We'd love to have you come and join our growing community. All of the relevant links to the channel are down below. The contact information, buy me a coffee, all that, right down below, and you can access that today. All right, let's get to it. I want to start today with a quote, and this is a quote from the late Colin Flaherty, and it is so fitting for today's video. He says this, quote, "You can ignore reality, you can ignore the consequences of reality, but you can't ignore the consequences of ignoring reality." And that ties in very well for a couple of things I want to talk about today, starting with the good old mayor of New York City, Eric Adams. As you know, New York City is being inundated, not with migrants as he calls them, but with illegal aliens. And he's wringing his hands because he just doesn't know what to do with all of the illegal aliens that are flooding into his city. And he gave a speech the other day in which he said this, and I quote, "Let me tell you something, New Yorkers. Never in my life have I had a problem that I did not see an ending to. I don't see an ending to this. This issue will destroy New York City. Destroy New York City." Adams said during a town hall meeting, "We're getting 10,000 migrants a month. We had a $12 billion deficit that we're going to have to cut. Every service in this city is going to be impacted. All of us," Adams said. "It's going to come to your neighborhoods. All of us are going to be impacted by this. I said it last year when we had 15,000. I'm telling you now with 110,000, the city we knew we're about to lose, and we're all in this together." And then Mayor Adams placed the blame on Texas Governor Greg Abbott, and this is what he said. "What happened? It started with a madman down in Texas." So Greg Abbott of Texas, the governor down there, is a madman according to New York City Mayor Eric Adams. The whole reason that they're having such a crisis with illegal immigrants flooding into New York City is because of the madman down in Texas. He's the one to blame. He's the bad guy. He's the boogeyman. But then Adams kind of shifted gears and said this. This is priceless. He said, "We're getting no support on this national crisis." Can you read into that what he's saying? I'll tell you exactly what he's saying. He's turning some blame to Washington. He's not saying that in so many words, but he is alluding to the fact that he's getting no support in this national crisis, this nationwide crisis. That's a shot at Biden. Adams, of course, is a Democrat, but he doesn't know what to do. He's just wringing his hands because his city is being flooded by illegal aliens, but somehow it's Greg Abbott's fault. Now, I realize that Greg Abbott has shipped illegal aliens from Texas to different parts of the country, and there's a reason for that. We'll get to that in just a second. So Adams, instead of focusing on what the problem is, which of course is border control, is shifting his blame elsewhere to this madman in Texas and towards Washington, and saying he can't get any help in this national crisis. Again, he's being flooded with illegal immigrants in New York City, but it is a drop in the bucket, Mayor Adams, to compare to what is happening down on the southern border in Texas, where they are being inundated with illegal immigrants or illegal aliens, I should say, pardon me, because they're getting no help from Biden and Mayorkas. They're getting no help from the federal government on this problem. But this is what I really want to say about this. Mayor Adams, there's no problem in New York City. There's no problem whatsoever with illegal aliens in New York City. You know why? Because you're a sanctuary city. Remember? Just like San Francisco, just like other cities in America, you're a sanctuary city, which means your arms are open to anybody from all over the world, whether they're illegal aliens or not. They're welcome there, right? That's the whole point. If you're a sanctuary city, that means anybody can come into your city, no matter where they're from or what they've done or whether they got there legally or illegally. You're a sanctuary city. So there's no problem, Mayor. Why are you calling Greg Abbott a madman? Why are you saying you're getting no help from Washington? You're a sanctuary city. Is it possible that maybe the people who decided to call their cities sanctuary cities didn't have enough forethought to understand what just might happen if you decided to make your city a sanctuary city? And there's something else that I want to point out about all this. Donald Trump was called a racist for calling for border closures. Well, if Donald Trump is a racist, what is Mayor Eric Adams? I mean, if he's calling Abbott a madman and he's saying he's not getting any help with all of these illegals, what is he? Is it possible for him to be a racist? Oh, I forgot he's a Democrat. That's right. Democrats can't be racist. Only Republicans can be racist. Okay, I'm glad I cleared that up. So it's Trump that's the racist. Trump is the racist, but Adams gets a pass. Now, you know, tourists come from all over the world to New York City and other big cities in the United States. But when they come to New York City especially, why are they coming? Where are they coming to see? Maybe the Statue of Liberty, or maybe they're coming to see Times Square, or maybe they're coming to see the Empire State Building or Central Park perhaps. But can you think of what these tourists are thinking these days when they come to New York City and other big cities and tourist meccas in America? Michael Snyder wrote a fantastic article on the economic collapse called "This is How Bad Things Have Become in America." And he writes this: can you imagine what tourists must think when they come to this country? They spend a lot of money to fly all the way over here, and they are hoping to have amazing experiences that they will always remember. But instead, they quickly realize that the cities they have come to see are rapidly degenerating. Today, our major cities are filthy. They are teeming with predators. He's right. And violent crime is completely out of control. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. New York City is the financial capital of the world, and millions of tourists still visit each year. But now, listen carefully, folks, but now the Big Apple has such an enormous rat problem that rat tourism is becoming a booming industry. As the city grapples with a major rat problem, sightings doubled last year, prompting the mayor to advertise for a, quote, somewhat bloodthirsty, unquote, head rat catcher in December. The rodent issue is, according to some, New York's latest must-experience trend. As visitors to New York demand rat action, some of the city's tour guides have started to add stops at notoriously infested sites, the New York Post reported this week. It means that rat tourism is fast becoming a booming industry. One study concluded that there are about 3 million rats in New York City, and with each passing day, the population grows even larger. Do you remember I talked the other week about the fact that in San Francisco, there are tour guides who will take you to see, how can I put this? Where people are actually defecating on the streets of San Francisco and shooting up hookers and whatnot. You can pay a tour guide to take you to see this. In case you don't believe that it's happening, you can pay a tour guide to take you to see where it actually is happening. And now in New York, you can pay tour guides to take you to where the rats are. I guess the four-legged kind. Lord knows there's plenty of the two-legged kind as well. Can you believe what is happening in our nation? You can go to New York and San Francisco and hire a tour guide to take you to show you where the rats are and where the people are taking dumps on the street. This is what is happening in our country, ladies and gentlemen. Michael Snyder continues, and he talks about what other things that are happening in big cities across America. He goes back to San Francisco and says that some tourist who visited San Francisco recently from Malta, they found out the hard way what San Francisco has turned into. When they visited a beach in the San Francisco area, all of their possessions were stolen within 10 minutes of their arrival. Their passports while they were at the ocean for just minutes. A group of tourists contemplated cutting their trip short and returning to Europe after a brazen smash and grab that occurred in broad daylight within a 10-minute window. They lost all their possessions. They had everything taken from them, including money, passports, whatever else they had. And there was shattered glass scattered across the ground from their car. They took everything we had: passports, cameras, phones, iPads, laptops, and luggage, everything, the tourists said. You know, once upon a time, Beverly Hills was really famous for luxury retailers that lined up along Wilshire Boulevard. And this goes on, but so many of these retailers now have completely closed down because of crime, the smash and grab, the looters. They've just closed their doors. They can't take it anymore. Here's another story about a vendor in South Los Angeles, a street vendor. This vendor was viciously assaulted by a group of thugs in broad daylight. And they, in front of his 8-year-old special needs daughter, and they stole all of his money in South Los Angeles over the weekend. This is our country anymore, folks. In the big cities anyway, this is what's happening. It's just unbelievable. So we have crime that is rampant, which leads to the next point, which is the fact that a few years ago, not that many years ago, I talked about this the other day, so many Democrats were calling for the abolition of the police. Well, guess what has happened? In some small towns, they even eliminated their police departments. There is a woman in the state of Minnesota whose name, and I'll probably butcher this, her name is Shivanthi Sathanandan. Pretty good. Shivanthi Sathanandan. Who is this woman? This woman is apparently a bigwig in Minnesota's Democratic Farmer Labor Party, according to the New York Post. Back during the summer of George Floyd, Shivanthi Sathanandan proclaimed that she and her fellow liberals would defund the Minneapolis Police Department. She was one of those many Democrats who was calling for the defunding and or abolition of entire police departments. She wanted the Minnesota Police Department defunded. Well, guess what's happened last week to good old Shivanthi? Shivanthi was carjacked in front of her house. She was the victim of a carjack in front of her daughter and her son. And now Shivanthi has a broken leg. She has cuts on her head and bruises all over her body. Guess what she's saying now? Shivanthi has changed her tune. She's not anti-cop anymore. Now she's pro-cop. Now she demands that something be done about the crime in Minnesota. Typical Democrat, typical liberal. It's always feelings over facts. It's always, your emotions over your brains. Typical Democrat. They don't think, they don't consider the actions or the consequences of their actions. Rush Limbaugh used to call it symbolism over substance. Yeah, let's eliminate the cops, but let's not spend any time thinking about the ramifications of same. So we've got a major rat infestation problem in New York City. And we've also got rodents. Our nation is falling apart at the seams. Thank God we've only got possibly a little more than a year left of this regime in Washington, D.C. before perhaps we can get some sanity returned to our nation. I pray so. Listen, thank you so much for joining me today. Put your comments down below. Let me know what you think about the rats in New York and the hypocrites in Minnesota. I'd love to hear your take on everything. Thanks for joining me, everybody. I really appreciate it. This is Trailer Trash Tim, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.